After everything Anna has been through, it seemed like she was finally starting to heal. But now, a new, unexpected issue was stirring within me, one that I couldn't seem to shake off. Anna, my wife's best friend, had been living with us for 6 months after escaping an abusive relationship. I've been married to my wife for 6 years, and we have a 3-year-old son. Our life together has been a constant source of happiness, and I consider myself lucky to have such a kind and intelligent woman as my partner. But the presence of Anna in our home had brought a complicated layer to our daily lives. Anna had always been a part of our family, a close friend since childhood. She'd been living in the city with her boyfriend before everything fell apart. They seemed happy enough in their 2-year relationship, but last year, things started to unravel. My wife noticed some bruises on Anna's hands, and when she asked about them, Anna initially dismissed them as nothing but work injuries. But as my wife pushed, the truth emerged: Anna had been in an abusive relationship. Her boyfriend had lost his job and his behavior became more controlling and toxic. He accused her of cheating, forced her to link her phone to his computer, and micromanaged every aspect of her life, even finances. The final breaking point came when there was an incident of domestic violence that left Anna shattered. My wife and I had to rush her to the hospital because Anna had no one else to turn to. Her parents were largely absent from her life. That's when my wife asked if Anna could stay with us, just for a few days. Our 4-bedroom house, with 2 guest rooms, could easily accommodate her. I agreed without hesitation. Anna had nowhere else to go, and I wanted to help her heal. At first, it was hard to watch her. She would break down in tears without warning, shutting herself off from everyone. It was heartbreaking to see someone so strong and independent reduced to such a fragile state. Anna had to quit her job because of the mental toll, and she stayed confined to her room, staring blankly at the walls all day. But my wife, ever the compassionate soul, took care of her like she was family, making sure Anna felt loved and supported. Anna was grateful, but her pain was evident every moment. As time passed, Anna started to find small moments of joy again. She smiled more frequently and began to search for a new job. The healing process was slow, but it was happening. That's when the incident occurred. Last Friday, my wife and I went about our usual routines, dropping off our son at daycare and heading to work. I had a doctor's appointment around noon, so I came home early, with little to do in the office. I made myself some lunch and then retreated to our bedroom to get some work done. Anna stayed in her room, and we didn't speak after I got home. Around 2 p.m., I heard the door to Anna's room open and the sound of footsteps in the hallway. I didn't think much of it, until our bedroom door suddenly swung open, and Anna walked in. The shock hit me like a lightning bolt. Anna was standing in front of me, topless, wearing only her underwear. I froze. My mind went blank. I'm not sure how long I was staring at her, but after a few agonizing seconds, I blurted out an apology, my voice shaky. She immediately covered herself with her hands, her face flushed with embarrassment. She apologized profusely and explained that she only wanted to borrow my wife's clothes because she hadn't done her laundry. I was in complete disbelief, too uncomfortable to process what had just happened. I looked away, trying to shield both of us from the awkwardness of the moment. She apologized again and quickly left the room, her footsteps retreating down the hallway. The whole incident lasted no more than 2 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. Later, Anna came back into our bedroom, fully dressed now, her face red with mortification. She apologized again, saying how embarrassing it was, and that she hadn't realized anyone would be home. I reassured her that it was fine, and that I should have informed her I'd come back early from the office. She asked me not to mention the incident to my wife. She was clearly upset about what had happened, and I didn't want to make her feel worse. The next 5 days passed in a blur. I kept the secret to myself, not saying a word to my wife. But inside, I struggled. It felt wrong to keep this from her, and yet, I wasn't sure what to do. The more I thought about it, the more guilty I felt. Should I tell my wife about the incident? Would it hurt Anna's progress, even though it was nothing more than an embarrassing mistake? What if Anna chose to tell my wife before I did? What would that do to our relationship? Would my wife trust me, or would she feel betrayed? The weight of my silence became unbearable. I couldn't help but feel torn. On one hand, I didn't want to add any more strain to Anna's life, especially after everything she had been through. But on the other, I hated the idea of lying to my wife, even by omission. Would it make me a terrible person if I didn't tell her? Would my wife understand, or would she think less of me? I didn't know where to turn. As I reflected on the situation, I wondered if keeping the secret would ruin our relationship. I didn't want to betray my wife's trust, but the fear of damaging her relationship with Anna weighed heavily on me. How could I navigate this delicate situation without causing further harm to anyone involved? Would there ever be a right time to speak up? Or was this something I should simply let go, hoping it would fade into the past? It's been a whirlwind since I made the decision to speak up. I was unsure at first, worried about how to bring it up to my wife. But after reading through all of your advice, I realized the urgency of telling her. You've all helped me understand the gravity of the situation and the best way to approach it. I even got some great ideas on how to talk to her without making things awkward for anyone. For those who suggested Anna had ulterior motives, I couldn't disagree more. I'm just an ordinary guy, nothing special. Women don't chase after me. But last night, everything just took a strange turn, and now I feel like I'm spiraling. I'm sorry if this post is getting long, but things have just been chaotic. So, I decided it was time to tell my wife about the incident. I wanted to do it right, casual, lighthearted, and hopefully, something we could laugh about and then move on from. When she came home last night, I made sure to stay in our bedroom, hoping to ease into it. I even asked Anna to stay downstairs with our son, so my wife could change. Did Anna borrow your clothes again? I asked her, trying to keep things simple. She told me Anna had, and that she's always free to take whatever she needs from her closet. I casually asked if Anna had mentioned anything about the incident from Friday. My wife looked at me, confused, then said no. That's when I told her the whole story, how I'd come home early, found Anna in the hallway, and then she walked into the bedroom almost naked. The moment I said it, my wife froze. Her face went pale. Her lips murmured something in Spanish, words I didn't fully understand, but I caught hombre casado and orts. I asked her if she was okay, but she didn't respond immediately. She just sat next to me, her face flushed with emotion, and asked me to explain everything in detail. I tried to laugh it off, but she didn't buy it. She kept pressing me for more. How does Anna talk to you? She asked. I tried to explain that Anna barely speaks to me, she mostly keeps to herself, and when she does interact with me, it's only in passing. Then my wife asked me about a time, about 3 weeks ago, when she had gone to visit her parents for 4 days. Anna had stayed behind, not wanting to go. I told her Anna just acted normal. She either cooked dinner or I did, while the other took care of our son. The only difference was that Anna spent more time in her room in the evenings. But what about when you were watching TV? My wife pressed. I told her that Anna had come into the living room after the kids were asleep and sat next to me on the sofa. She didn't speak, just sat there, and when I asked if she wanted me to change the channel, she simply said she wanted to get out of her room. It didn't feel unusual to me at all, but my wife was still upset. She refused to answer me, saying only, okay. But then she gave me a lecture about how I should have told her about the incident sooner and not kept secrets from her. I tried to assure her that I didn't think it was a big deal, and I thought Anna would tell her. Later that evening, after dinner, my wife asked Anna to join us, and while they were talking, she brought up the incident. She told Anna that I'd mentioned it, and that there was no need for her to feel embarrassed. Things like that happen when we're all living together, my wife said. Anna was shocked at first, but then she told my wife she was just scared to bring it up because she thought my wife would judge her. The conversation quickly shifted after that, and Anna changed the topic. That night, I asked my wife what was really going on. I needed to know. I told her not to keep secrets from me, and if she didn't tell me, I'd ask Anna directly about her past. I had a nagging feeling, maybe Anna had feelings for me before I got married. But my wife wasn't forthcoming. She tried to avoid answering, but I pressed her until she finally gave in. It turns out, when Anna was in her early 20s, she had been in a relationship with a married man, someone twice her age. It was a sugar daddy situation, and he had told her he was in an open marriage and would leave his wife once the kids went to college. This made sense to me now. Anna is beautiful, Miss USA level, and I'd never understood why she stayed single for so long. She eventually ended that relationship and started dating her boyfriend, Jim, who turned out to be abusive. My wife suspects that Anna might have been involved with the older man while she was dating Jim, which explains why he was constantly accusing her of cheating. This is why my wife got so emotional when I told her about the incident. She's worried that Anna doesn't have boundaries when it comes to married men. Despite all of this, my wife was grateful I allowed Anna to stay with us. She said it was important for Anna to see what a healthy, happy marriage looks like. This morning, things took another strange turn. I woke up early, unable to sleep, and went downstairs for coffee. After just a few minutes, Anna came into the kitchen and told me she was relieved my wife didn't overreact to Friday's incident. She hugged me, something she hadn't done in 6 months, and kissed me on the cheek. "You're a good husband," she said with a smile, in a surprisingly upbeat mood. We made small talk over coffee, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My wife never told me about Anna's past, all these years, and I had no idea. The confusion and anger inside me were like a storm brewing, and I couldn't shake the thought that my wife had been hiding something for all these years. The secret of Anna's past, the old relationship with a married man, was buried under layers of unspoken tension. Was it possible? Had she been cheating all along, and my wife had kept it from me? Had she been covering for Anna all this time, even after lecturing me about the importance of no secrets between us? It seemed impossible, yet my mind kept circling back to the same questions. How could she have kept such a crucial detail from me? And what else was she hiding? I could feel the anger building up as I thought about it. Anna's actions now felt different, more loaded than before. The way she interacted with me, the unexpected hug and kiss, it was all too much. I hadn't mentioned it to my wife yet, but I knew I had to. People in the comments had urged me to, and I knew it was the right thing to do. But even as I thought about sharing this with my wife, the knot in my stomach tightened. What if it was all a test? What if Anna was pushing boundaries, and I hadn't even realized it? There was one comment that stuck with me: Anna needs to go before her own messed up issues ruin your marriage. Could that be true? Was this just the beginning of something bigger? The hug, the kiss, it felt like Anna was crossing some invisible line. And here I was, left to process it all alone, second-guessing every moment of the past few days. Was I wrong to brush it off? To trivialize the incident? It's not like I wanted to make a big deal of it, but now I saw how much it had affected my wife. Her reaction, her eyes filled with water, her frantic need for more details, it made everything more complicated. I replied, telling myself it was just a casual greeting, that it wasn't a big deal. But deep down, I wasn't so sure. Anna had never done anything like that before. What was different today? She seemed almost too happy, too eager to be near me. But my wife was right to push for more details. She needed to know everything, and I needed to come clean. I didn't want any more secrets between us. I was already angry at myself for trying to downplay the situation. I should have been more honest. If I had just told her everything, maybe things wouldn't feel so strained now. My wife had always trusted Anna, but now I could see how my wife's unease was creeping in. She had always treated Anna like family, but now, the lines felt blurred. Was it too late to fix this? Could I still protect my marriage from whatever Anna's past was threatening to uncover? One Redditor's comment echoed in my mind: tell your wife about the hug and kiss, or it will only get worse. Was that true? The kiss had made me uncomfortable, especially since Anna had never done something like that before. It wasn't the kind of thing I was used to. My wife's friends would give me a quick kiss on the cheek as a greeting, but this felt different. Anna's actions, her sudden affection, it all seemed too intimate. I had never been comfortable with that kind of closeness. But now, after today, I wasn't sure how to feel. What was she trying to communicate with that gesture? And the more I thought about it, the more confused I became. My wife had kept Anna's past a secret from me for so long, and that hurt. How could she have known about Anna's relationship with a married man and not tell me? After all this time, after everything that had happened, it felt like a betrayal. I knew it was Anna's past, but I couldn't help but feel like my wife should have shared that with me. It was a piece of information I needed to know. We tried to talk about it that evening. My wife apologized, but the tension was still there. We tried to shake it off, to get past it for the moment, and we took our son to the playground. The weather was nice, and the fresh air helped to clear my mind. But I couldn't shake the feeling that things weren't right. I knew I had to tell my wife about the kiss, about how Anna had hugged me that morning. It was a part of this tangled mess, and I couldn't hide it anymore. It wasn't common in our culture, at least not the way Anna had done it. I was used to greetings, quick pecks on the cheek, but this was different. Anna had crossed some invisible boundary, and I wasn't sure how to navigate it. It wasn't just about the kiss, it was about everything that led up to it. The way Anna had acted, the way my wife had kept secrets from me, and now this awkward tension between us. I wasn't sure how to explain all of this to my wife. I had tried to reassure myself that it wasn't a big deal, that it was just a cultural misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. And I knew I needed to face it head on. It wasn't just about Anna anymore. It was about trust, boundaries, and what my wife and I had built together. Later that night, I sat with my wife, hoping to put a positive spin on things. I wanted her to understand that Anna was just acting like family, that she was just as comfortable with us as my wife's sisters were. I tried to reassure her, tried to make her see that it wasn't as serious as it felt. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play. What was really going on? What was Anna trying to tell me? What was I missing? The conversation had barely started when I realized how much more I needed to say. But before I could, my wife interrupted. She wanted to focus on something else, anything else. But I knew I couldn't avoid the truth for much longer. The kiss, the hug, the secrets, everything was starting to unravel, and I was stuck in the middle of it. It felt like we were standing on the edge, just waiting for the next twist to come. And I wasn't sure what would happen when it did. I admire my wife deeply. She's the kind of person who always goes out of her way to help those in need. It's one of the things I love most about her. She smiled when I mentioned this, her face lighting up with genuine happiness. Then, she started talking about how she had noticed something different about Anna lately. Anna seemed more talkative, more engaged in the morning, and was cleaning her room with a sense of purpose. She even started talking about applying for jobs again. I told my wife how I felt about Anna, that she felt like one of her sisters to me. I was happy that Anna considered us family, that she felt comfortable enough around us to be herself. The weeks that followed were unexpectedly smooth. Anna began waking up earlier, at the same time I did, around 5 a.m. It became a little routine. We'd share a cup of coffee, chatting about everything and nothing. Sometimes, she'd help me with breakfast or get the lunch boxes ready. Then one day, out of the blue, Anna asked me if she could join my gym. She said her therapist recommended it, and I agreed to help her with some resistance training. We started going to the gym together, about 3 or 4 times a week, just before I'd pick up my son from daycare. It felt good, like having a regular gym partner, and we even started talking about protein intake like we were fitness enthusiasts. One morning, as we were preparing breakfast, I made a comment. "You're way less annoying than my sisters," I said, half joking, half serious. I don't think I could ever call her my sister, but I meant it in the sense that I felt comfortable with her, like she belonged. She just smiled at my remark. I was glad to see her making progress in her life. She had already had a few interviews, and her old job had expressed interest in rehiring her. 2 weeks ago, she told us she was going to start looking for an apartment. We even toured a couple of places nearby. My wife, in her usual playful manner, joked that Anna's dating prospects would be slim if she stayed in our suburb. But Anna just laughed it off, saying she wasn't interested in dating for a while. She wanted to focus on herself and, for now, she was enjoying spending time at the gym and with our son. As for the hugs and kisses, well, I think I figured it out. A hug? That's nothing unusual. I get one every morning. But the kisses on the cheek? It seems like it's just her way of showing appreciation. It's her way of saying thank you. Nothing more to it. Things were starting to look positive for Anna, and I felt proud of how far she'd come. After going through such a tough time, she was finally emerging from her shell, and we were happy to see that. She'd spent months isolating herself, but now she was making connections again, ready to get back into the world. She planned to join my wife and son on a summer trip to visit my in-laws in a few weeks, unless her job situation changed. I genuinely hoped for the best for her, and I was glad I hadn't overreacted to the earlier situation. After all, it wasn't as big a deal as some might have thought. My wife, too, had been incredibly understanding throughout all of this. I'm thankful that she was there for Anna when she needed it the most. But then, as the days went by, the comments started to get to me. One person remarked, "If this works out for you guys, that's great. But for me, it's a huge red flag. She wakes up the same time as you, joins the same gym, and wants to spend all this time with you. Plus, she's looking at apartments near you? Maybe it's just me, but this seems like the start of something fishy." Another commenter, even more blunt, wrote, "I'm honestly uncomfortable reading how much she's inserted herself into your life. There are red flags everywhere, and you either don't see them or are choosing not to. This isn't normal. She has no reason to be hugging or kissing you. And the apartment hunting? Why is that something we're doing? Why are you spending so much time with her? You're having an emotional affair, and it won't take much for it to turn physical." It was starting to make me question everything. The comments kept coming. "You honestly don't see it, do you? Waking up at the same time, going to the gym, cooking together. She's spending so much time with you, but she's not one of your sisters, she's your wife's friend. And don't forget, she has a past with married men. You're being naive not to put boundaries in place." One more said, "Sure, this is going to end well. You're not handling it head on, but the slow build is happening. She'll start making subtle moves until she gets her own place, and then, it will all change. You'll find yourself in her bed and wondering how it happened." Someone else added, "I'm not even involved in this, but I can't ignore how much Anna is forcing her way into your life. It doesn't seem innocent at all. She's playing the long game. You need to set boundaries, or it'll end badly. She's clearly trying to get close to you, and if your marriage dies because of it, you'll have no one to blame but yourself." The messages were relentless. It seemed like I couldn't escape the flood of warnings. The more I read, the more uncomfortable I became, but I couldn't deny the truth in some of their words. I didn't want to believe it, but could I really be that clueless? And then, one final comment that shook me to my core: "I see now that Anna has gone after married men before. I can't believe you haven't put the pieces together." I wasn't sure what to believe anymore, but one thing was clear: the situation was a lot more complicated than I thought.